Very excited to have our guest on. There couldn't be a better time to have him on. He's been on multiple times, talking about some of the best topics we ever had, and we're honored to have him. Please welcome author, podcaster, researcher, William Ramsey. How are you, brother?
Great, great. Thanks for having me. Good to be with you,
It's
all
good
three
to
of you.
see you. So I know you've been on multiple times. Some of the new listeners may not be familiar with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, I was originally a writer. Actually, I was a lawyer, and then I wrote my first book in 2010, Prophet of Evil, about Crowley. And I was really a guest for a long time. Then I kind of flipped and became a host and really over COVID. And my podcast is William Ramsey Investigates. And so I've been just kind of still researching, writing, and doing a lot of hosting. I think I've got 1,500 episodes now on my
Wow.
podcast. Yeah, so I've been busy. And I've really been following all these assassins. Like it's this really weird season. Our last show was in March, I think, where we covered Hinckley and Chapman and the connection to Catcher in the Rye. And since then, I've just kind of just been tinkering through. And I went back to this amazing movie that was made in '62 titled The Manchurian Candidate.
Okay, we're gonna get into that. You're totally right. We've talked about this on the show about assassin seasons back. You look at the 60s and the 70s, maybe the early 80s too. People were getting assassinated left and right, and for some reason it calmed down. And then lately it just seems to be out of control. And let me just say that rappers have been getting assassinated all the time. I don't know why people don't count those. They've been getting assassinated all the time, but lately, Charlie Kirk, and then the Trump attempt, and we can get into whatever we think about that. But it's just interesting times, dude. It's interesting times. So where do you want to begin, my friend?
Let's go over the list of the assassins. Also, if you remember, it's Nick Fuentes too, almost got assassinated at his house. Some guy with a
Oh
crossbow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
His
Oh
name
man.
was John R. Lyons. He killed, I think, for his friend's mom, and somebody else, and then he was killed at the very end, if you remember. He was kind of swept away, but he's forgotten. But there's been so many of the ones that I was covering recently were Robin Westman, that was the trans guy who shot up the church, to Carlos Brown, who stabbed the girl the day before
Yes,
Kirk, right?
yes.
He said he had materials in his body, so either he's schizophrenic or maybe who knows. But it does kind of tie back to the Manchurian Candidate. I had Shane Tamura, if you remember him. He was the guy who went to the 33rd floor of a
Oh
Blackstone
yeah,
building.
yes.
Yeah, I think that was this year. Then there was Jabbar and Livelsberger. That was January. There's so many, it's hard to believe when you see them all together.
Luigi.
Luigi Mangione, who was just in trial, very good. Um, then Tyler Robinson, this guy supposedly who shot him, and the same day, shot Kirk, excuse me. The same day there was another guy named Desmond Hawley, who kind of got overshadowed because the Kirk assassination was so
Oh,
big.
that was that school shooting, right?
Yes, that was the
Where?
one. He shot two people. I don't know if he killed them. Shot two people in Colorado.
Oh yeah.
He was 16 years old, and so that was kind of minimized. There was a Peyton Gendron guy who drove all the way to Buffalo, New York, and shot a bunch of African American people, if you remember him. Nikita Kasap was the one of the Trump shooters. He was going to try to assassinate Trump. He killed his parents and was caught driving across country. And then we have Ruth and Crooks. Crooks supposedly is dead. Ruth was in court and tried to kill himself. It actually kind of ties into the
Yes, that
Manchurian.
was crazy. He tried to stab himself, right?
Yeah. Yes.
There was one today. I think they shot up an ICE department, and the guy
Yes.
ended up killing an ICE guy, and then the guy killed himself at the end, type of thing.
The same thing, and he's marking his bullets, supposedly like
Hmm.
Tyler Robinson
Yeah,
did.
I think it said anti-ICE on the bullets.
Yes, yes.
I didn't even know you could write on bullets.
I didn't either, but I guess that's the new thing. Apparently, the guy Tyler wrote on bullets that he wasn't going to use. So what's he writing on bullets if it's only
No,
one
that's
shot,
so
right?
true, dude. That's so crazy.
Yeah. So it's this film for me is in the context of all of these assassins because it's about an assassination. It's about a political assassination, but it also involves themes of mind control. And it's almost like American cultural history had a before Manchurian Candidate, which came out in 1962, a before and an after, because it almost set off all of these assassinations. So you have this depiction in a film, then a year later you have JFK, then you have Malcolm X in '65, I believe, and then RFK and MLK in 68. And all those assassins are really unusual, like the modern assassins we have today, where like Ruth is like traveling around. And Mangione, actually, both Ruth
That's
and
such a weird one too.
yeah. They're both on Oahu and like traveling to weird places. Like
Oh, that was
Oahu's their
Mark.
home
That
base.
was Mark David Chapman, right? He would
Exactly,
just travel.
exactly.
Nobody knew how he traveled.
Exactly. So you'll see a lot of this weird kind of stuff. The film has a lot of themes that are important. And one of the more important themes, mind control and manipulation, but also handlers. So these people are handled. So the main character is played by Lawrence Harvey, and his character name is Raymond Shaw. And he's kind of manipulated in an intel way. And he's moved all the way from Manchuria. That's where it got its name. So if you remember, the Korean War was from 1950 to 1953. And so that Manchuria was above the Korean Peninsula. So in the film, they're actually, it's a lot of Illuminati numbers and occult numbers are in the book. I have a video we can show that. But like the 11 members of this troop are taken there. And then really one of the most infamous sequences, I think, in US cinema history, is this sequence where they're being programmed and manipulated by this sinister communist doctor named Dr. Yen Lo, really played well by the actor. His name is Ding. It's hard to pronounce his name. Ding Ling or something like that.
Ding Ling.
Yeah, he was in Hawaii Five-O too. If you're old enough to remember like the original Hawaii
I used to
Five-O.
love that Hawaii
Yeah,
Five-O.
so he's great in this film. Like the acting is so good. I watched the new one with Denzel Washington, and it's really kind of a sad shadow of the original 1960s.
It's never
almost always the case.
Yeah. For people who don't, so one of the interesting things about Manchurian Candidate, other than this mind control and handling and moving around and political assassination, is the background of the film itself. The Sinatra really was the lead kind of push to get this film done. He's very close friends with JFK. And a lot of the decision to greenlight the film, The Manchurian Candidate, which was written by Richard Condon in 1959, was done at Hyannisport, if you know, like the Kennedy compound. They were at Hyannisport together and like, yeah, you should get this done. And Kennedy calls somebody in Hollywood and some producer, and the money appears and they make the movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it really is crazy because they took it. And for people who don't know the background of the film, it was taken off the market for 25 years. So it wasn't seen from 1963 to 1988, I guess, or something like that. Like it was when it came back, and it didn't have a lot of success when it came out in late 62. I think it kind of had a mid success, but it was almost like not even covered. It's really like the story of the making of the film itself is incredible, but it ties into all these assassinations. So I use it kind of as a template or an exemplar of like what happened in the future, because Raymond Shaw's a lot like Lee Harvey Oswald, actually, which is really crazy. So a year later, if you remember in the movie, the main character, Raymond Shaw, goes behind the lines in communism and then comes back out and shoots. And then Oswald spends like 18 months behind so-called enemy lines in communism. And within a year, he's moved into position in Dallas, Texas for the shooting. So, and Oswald's really special. Like we can get there, but like you keep him in mind because some of the people who handled him, much like Raymond Shaw in the movies being handled, passed away recently. One of the famous one is a woman by the name of Ruth Payne, who has a very interesting thing. But this movie's coming out in the kind of like right as MK Ultra starts in 53. A lot of that behavior stuff.
So crazy.
Yeah. And so this guy, Condon, really knew a lot of stuff. One of the interesting things about Condon, he's kind of lost to history. If you know the films Prizzi's Honor, he also wrote those were books that the screenplays were based on. That was Jack Nicholson. He also ended up writing the intro to Operation Mind Control. There's two really important books about mind control that came out in, I think, the 70s or 80s. One is Operation Mind Control by Bauer, and another is The Search for the Manchurian Candidate by Marx. So Condon was really keyed in, and that's kind of what, so like, he knew all these hypnotic ideas and the mind control thing in a much more sophisticated way than the general public would know. And it's integrated into this film, Manchurian Candidate.
Do you think there's intelligence involved in him making this movie?
It's a really good question. I think that JFK was using these films to kind of seed ideas in the general public. And the reason I believe that is this wasn't the only film that he was interested in getting made After this film, another film called 7 Days in May was made and released actually in the same month as Doctor Strangelove. It actually was released in January 1st of 1964. And for 7 Days in May, Kennedy was so involved in that making of that film, which is about a coup, a military coup over the United States in 7 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He was so involved in making that film that he went to Hyannisport for a weekend so they could shoot at the White House. So some of the scenes are literally at the White House. So I think Kennedy, this is after he's firing these generals and he's having trouble, and the Bay of Pigs, and firing Dulles, I think, after the Bay of Pigs, and then Operation Northwoods, if you remember that, or what's the one where they were going to bomb Cuba?
Operation Northwoods.
It was Northwoods. Okay. So like all this stuff, he's absorbing it in the real world, and then it kind of comes out. So I think the mind behind the film, there is something there. I don't know. Condon was really sophisticated and super smart and a great writer. So I know that, but also one of the interesting things is a consultant for this film is Intel. Like he is Intel. And that article, that 30-page article I sent you, at the first, there's like a blurb, and it's about this guy named William Joseph Bryan Jr. Have you heard of him?
No. Can you look that up, XG or Johnny? The email they sent us, find it.
He's a consultant, but he's also friends with all of these very well-known people. He's friends with Sinatra, William Joseph Bryan. He's friends with Melvin Belli. If you remember, he would represent Jack Ruby in about a year or two after this film was done.
Really?
Yeah. Melvin Belli, who's also involved in all kinds of stuff in San Francisco. And then F. Lee Bailey, William Joseph Bryant is friends with F. Lee Bailey. William Joseph Bryant had his office. It's literally a hypnotist office on Sunset. Probably current, well, it's not there today, but if you went to his office, I think the building is still there. Yeah, so there's Walter Bauer, Joseph Bryan. It's literally about 3 blocks from the Comedy Store right there on Sunset.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he's right there. And if you look into the shooting of RFK and Sirhan, William Joseph Bryan is all over that. And almost every major writer who's written about RFK has brought up William Joseph Bryan, who is the consultant on Manchurian Candidate and a CIA agent and sophisticated and a really heavy-duty mind controller. Like he ended up getting busted, and you can actually look up his court case. It's not funny. His court case in California, because he was hypnotizing the women and engaging in inappropriate activity with them. Yeah. And he actually got busted trying to bribe one for $25,000. He's very
Back then, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was
25
like
grand.
in the
It's
late
like $1 billion right now.
He ended up dying at a early age of 50. He was a heavy drug user, like a syringe drug user. He died in Vegas. Like he literally left Las Vegas as a corrupt kind of criminal guy who had a very interesting ascent. But he was with prostitutes, and he told the prostitutes that his project was Sirhan. So he like admitted it. He never made it to court. Yeah. Because Sirhan's around that area at that time in 67, 68. He's in and out of hospitals. That's another theme that's encapsulated within the film Manchurian Candidate, is a lot of these guys end up in strange hospital stays that are inexplicable. And so the Manchurian Candidate integrates these hospital stays. It's actually interesting because that's how MK Ultra was done. Like Bauer got it, because what happens to Raymond Shaw after he's brought out of the Manchukuo or Manchuria is he's brought back to New York City, but then he's handled at an already existing medical facility with a different attic. And so he's brought in. So externally, people would just think it's a hospital, but it's actually kind of a mind control hub where these guys are literally handling and making sure the kind of mechanics of Raymond Shaw are still intact. And that, if you read a lot of the MK Ultra stuff, they really took already existing institutions and built them out and added wings or elevated them to do the mind control experimentation that took place in the
That's
50s.
Haight-Ashbury, right? I mean, that's pretty much what they did with Haight-Ashbury.
No question. Ashbury, McGill, Georgetown, Colgate. There was a place in like downtown in New York City. Those are then also Emory, Stanford, like really big name places were doing this kind of research. And it was almost
So
Yeah.
I was just gonna say this kind of reminded me of Kanye West, his handler. I don't know if you remember his handler, where they got him and he was saying that they were gonna take him for medication. It seems like it's just protocol, but no, you're getting MK Ultra.
Pasternak, Harley
Yeah,
Pasternak.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that is really crazy.
The same threats too, and he seemed to got that treatment. Like he almost like had a personality change after what happened to him, and that's what you see with a lot of these assassins, the modern assassins, is this behavioral modification or personality change.
And he has two bodies on him, right? That trainer, doesn't he have Brittany Murphy too? Like he was
Yeah.
Brittany Murphy's trainer, and then her husband. I mean, dude, it's dangerous out there, dude.
Very devious. I mean, I think that Kanye was justifiably afraid of that guy Pasternak, and I tried to get his background. He has an interesting background, but I tried to. There's other Pasternaks in the MK Ultra thing. I couldn't tie that Pasternak to another one, but
Wasn't he Canadian psychological operations?
the one not this guy Harley, but there was a
Oh,
guy like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
people were
Hey,
trying to figure out what his background was, but he was Harley Pasternak. The other thing is there was one of his clients, quote clients unquote, underwent trans surgery. The girl to a boy. I forgot what her name is now.
yeah, because it's crazy because he's supposed to be a fitness guy. It's crazy your
Right.
fitness guy is working with your mental health, which is so fucking weird.
Yeah, it's bad. There's a lot of that in the whole MK Ultra kind of history. Is like very well renowned doctors, externally upstanding, but doing really devious stuff underneath the surface, like Esther Brooks and um, Jolly West and some of these things.
oh yeah, Jolly West is everywhere. But even if you get into more modern times, like Anna Nicole Smith, Britney Spears, like completely I mean, what about Elvis? Elvis is the greatest example of that. I mean, they just drugged him all the way to death to
It's pretty
manipulate
wild.
him.
No, you're absolutely right. I think that, like, at least for me, like, I have to go back and look at all this stuff in a different light because some of these people making complaints that their doctor's messing them, they may be telling the truth.
But yeah, for
Like,
sure.
it's really true. Like, oh, you are being drugged. Like, I think Kanye was drugged and manipulated. Like, I really, in a sinister way, not in a healthy way, and being threatened. He's just one example. That's what came to the surface. He was courageous enough to, like, tell his story or share his story. So that's just one example. So like a lot of these guys have been in medical stuff, and it's reflected in the Manchurian Candidate. I highly recommend to you guys in your audience to watch the 1962 version. Look at my paper that I sent to you. I'm going to publish it on Substack today, so it's basically in the
I'll
public
check it out.
Yeah, it's in the public. It'll be in the public domain, or people can read it. But check it out and take notes and see like, oh, this sounds like something familiar, like somebody's moved into position or somebody's being handled, or there's trigger words. Like if you remember the Muhammad who was the sniper in DC, do you remember that story?
Yeah, him
And
and the kid, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't
the
it?
kid. And then they're like, at the very end, the chief of police says these weird words. He's like, the fox is in the hen house, or I can't remember what he said at the end. It's almost like they're trigger words. And this guy, if you read like Programmed to Kill by Dave McGowan, it just shows a lot of these military guys have been messed with. And Muhammad was military. And there's a really obvious like guys who were in behavior modification or training. Heidnik, and we know of him, possibly Dahmer, definitely Whitey Bulger was an MK Ultra victim.
Yeah.
Like really crazy stuff.
If you go to there, I mean, if you notice the text messages from this Robinson kid, vehicle, retrieve, those are like military words. You don't use normal words like that. So it's either someone wrote that for him or he somehow MK Ultra or something, because words retrieve, vehicle, you don't use that as normal
I mean, he shows
conversation.
no emotion if we're to believe what they're telling us. He shows no emotions.
Did you see the video of him when he was arraigned and he was being brought up on capital murder? He didn't even move. He didn't even say anything. He didn't say, I'm innocent, I'm guilty. He just stood there and stared at him like he was hypnotized or zapped
Yep.
or something.
I totally agree on that, dude.
It would have been his chance. Like, hey, this is baloney, or I wasn't there. The guy is like super smart. He had like a 34 on his ACT. Like he's in the 99th percentile. And then somehow he gets this impulse to go shoot Charlie Kirk. Kirk was shot from the side. I don't think.
Yeah, I totally agree on that, dude.
Yeah.
And it's just like everyone's like, yeah, dude, all these out of state plate vehicles came to his house. How do you know they're meeting with him? Maybe they're meeting with his dad. His dad's the one who sold him out or was smart enough to get him arrested so they couldn't take him out. But none of this makes any sense, dude.
It doesn't make any sense. The Tyler Robinson story is obviously like fake. Like there's real problems with it. We're going to set up the death penalty. He just stares off into space. Like I would at least go, oh, crap, I could lose my life or do something. He reminds me of the Holmes, who was the Aurora killer, who like, for me, he definitely got tampered with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've done episodes on the LIBOR scandal and just like all the connections between those two shooters and that scandal. And it's just crazy how they'll do it. And again, I mean, the show we recorded earlier is going out on next week, but we talked about that movie Weapons, and just like the words and little things can trigger these assassins.
It's really true. They have to find the right subject, but certain people we're all on a scale of suggestibility. Some people you could not, but some people like Sirhan, he can bounce between different elements of his consciousness like a snap on the head. And people have said that when he did this fake shooting, the shot that killed RFK came from behind him. But when he was doing it, there was the famous girl in the polka dot dress, and she just touched his elbow, and that was his trigger.
What?
Yeah. And so he just went into firing stance. And that was how simple he was, because there's so many doctors who have looked at these guys, Chapman and Sirhan in particular, and they're like, these guys have been tampered with.
You're so correct. It's like those people that can get hypnotized on site. There's some that can, there's some that can't. It's just that simple. And if you find the one that's like that subjectable, where you just touch the elbow and all of a sudden they're in like that stance, you just got to find the right person. You're right. We're all subjectable, but it's just got to find that right motherfucker.
Right, XG. It's called like the Stanford suggestibility table. You can look it up. It just has like all these indicators. So literally, if I wanted to like zap you, I'd start asking you questions, XG, and I go down the Stanford suggestibility list and see if I could get you on. I go, okay, this is my guy. And the same thing happens if you remember kind of like parlor trick hypnosis that they used to do. They'd invite like a whole audience up. I'd like to have 20 people come up on the stand and talk to him. And then he'd start doing his induction routine. And then he'd be like, okay, respond to this. And then 3 people wouldn't respond. He said, you could go sit down. So he's actually winnowing that kind of pool to like, okay, I've found that. That's what they do or used to do. They used to have those actually all the time. Actually, believe it or not, at the Carousel Club that Jack Ruby ran, they would do hypnotism, things like that at night, it's a tie-in to Oswald. But yeah, this is kind of real stuff. So some of these people are very susceptible and some aren't. And the trigger in the Manchurian Candidate is this Queen of Diamonds. So that's the trigger for the assassin, or trigger to access his lower kind of subconscious or subconscious that has been done within a lot of the stuff. It's really interesting in the movie because how astute Condon one was writing. By the way, they literally took whole passages from the book and put it in the movie. So whoever screen wrote didn't have to do a lot of writing, because he literally, like, their whole passages, he just cut and pasted into the film. But it shows Condon was astute because he was going into this academic studies of suggestibility and hypnosis. It's part of psychiatry. It's part of psychology. It's a subset, but these guys, really smart people. Like Jolly West was freaking brilliant, man.
Yeah.
The guy was a giant, like intellectual giant. I'm not saying he was a good person, but some of these other guys from Stanford and everything, they're all really researching hypnosis, and some are looking at it from a good perspective. Like, can we get into the deeper levels of subconscious and heal trauma, smoking?
It's super interesting because you get into like, and I hope this doesn't take this too far off, but if you get in the Kavanaugh hearing for the Supreme Court, the woman who accuses him is her father ran black ops for the CIA. He had to get funding for black ops, and she was part of the CIA intern program there. And
from Stanford too, right?
From Stanford.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? And it's like she's just running interference, so nobody actually looks at his what he actually stood on. Like he was part of the page. He wrote to help write the Patriot Act. He believes the president's above law. He doesn't believe in warrants to search your house. All this crazy ass shit. He's part of Whitewater. He worked with the Clintons on Whitewater. So instead of talking about that, they get you talking about did he get weird in high school? But it goes back to Stanford and all that stuff with the CIA.
The vastness of like the inquiries that were taking place in the 50s or 60s would really surprise people, I think, because it was really happening in like a Atascadero State Hospital and all this stuff. And like Jolly West would go into some of these state hospitals or other things. And even it was happening actually in Louisiana. There was this guy Heath who was like doing literal implants. I don't know if you've heard of Delgado. Yeah. He was like, that was part of his specialty, is to put little like things in your brain. And there's state hospitals and universities all over the place.
It's so dark how these
Super
hospitals,
dark.
before anyone started paying attention.
Jose Delgado, you can bring up the video of Jose Delgado messing around with an aggressive bull. He tells it to stop. It's kind of an infamous thing because it's recorded. But Delgado was asked, were these ever done on humans? And he said, experiments were done. He like literally said experiments. So some of this stuff is not coming out because it's classified. It's all under classification stuff. So some of these things like FOI documents, recent ones, are really interesting. And they've kind of slowly, people have seen this.
That's like the first suspect. I don't know if you guys, I mean, we talked about in the other episode where he's been found at the 9/11. I think he called in the Boston Marathon.
Zin, yeah.
Yeah, he's always everywhere. And then you said like you press a button, he shows up and he does whatever you want him to do, like yell it was me, shoot me, shoot me.
It gets pretty dark. I mean, it's not that there's a whole thing about Oswald, about how pliable and interesting, how he would just sit down and watch TV. They put him in front of a TV, he wouldn't move. And his brother said that something happened to his hair where it became kind of thin and very stringy. It was consistent with this electroshock therapy they were doing. And he was in hospitals in Minsk. And one of the key elements of the Garrison trial, if you remember, he arrested Clay Shaw in 1967.
Yes.
It's a key element of like the whole JFK thing, is like trying to get this guy busted. He didn't. But one of the things he was trying to do is create a nexus between Oswald Ferry, David Ferry, who's a very strange guy, Shaw, and the ex-FBI agent whose name is, I can't remember it.
That's fine.
He was trying to put them all together. And one of the things that put them together is people saw Ferry, Shaw, and Oswald at a state hospital. And they were trying to get Oswald a job at that state hospital. But nobody could figure out, why did they want him to go to this place in Clinton and get him a job? But then when you start researching this nexus and network of mind control, this is a hub in the overall two-lane MK Ultra experimentation that was taking place in the 50s and 60s.
Unbelievable, dude. And he was,
yeah.
Go on. Sorry.
Well, Oswald, this is just how the overlap between the film and the real life. Like another of my papers is the Manchurian fiction to fact, because it's so close to each other. Raymond Shaw to Oswald. Raymond Shaw's handled by things. He's handled back to his mother, but Oswald is handled by, he's overseen. Do you know that Lee Harvey Oswald, when he was 13 at some boys' home in New York City, he had a full psychological background written about him?
No, what?
He had a full, like, 5-page psychological background written about him when he was like 13. And this guy who did it, his friends were all MK Ultra. So he's literally from a teen, like a prepubescent teen, somebody's watching him and somebody's moving him. He's moved to Cap when he was 15, where David Ferry is. Was a famous picture of Ferry and Oswald at 15 together. Like, Ferry liked boys. That was his jam. That was his thing. He was gay, but he liked like twinks or teen boys. And so he had all these boys around him. Ferry's really interested. Garrison called Ferry one of the most important people who ever lived, because he was involved in so much stuff: the mob, gun running, Castro, and JFK, and Oswald. And that was what Garrison was trying to do, is get all these guys together, is to make those links that they denied, they all denied. So Oswald at 15 is a Cap. He's taken out. He's like special because he goes to Atsugi Air Force Base, which is, Atsugi is a suburb suburb of Tokyo. So when the U.S. takes over Tokyo, they had a base there. And Atsugi's a known place where they're doing heavy duty MK Ultra LSD experimentation. The reason we know that is because when Olson, who's a famous guy who died in 1953 on an LSD experiment, he was either chucked out of a building, 10th floor building, or died.
Oh,
When
yeah,
he-
yeah. That's a famous story, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, very famous.
Netflix.
Yeah, it's called Wormwood, a really good show. It's Errol Morris is in it. Hold on, just a sec. I'm like on a route where the cops drive by all the time. Anyway, the
Great
Errol,
for
it's
business.
yeah, the Errol Morris movie. It's really good documentary. There's also a really good book by Jack Albarelli about the whole Olson thing. Anyway, when Olson dies, a letter is sent directly from the head of the CIA and MK Ultra, Dulles, to Atsugi saying stop all experimentation. So that's how we know that they were doing the experimentation at Atsugi, particularly. Oswald is there, I think, in 57 or 58. He goes into the hospital for like a 7-day stay for a venereal disease. Like, what the heck are you doing this for a venereal disease? He also was there with this guy, Kerry Thornley, who like knows Oswald before he did the assassination. Like, Kerry Thornley is around Oswald all the time in this really weird thing. And he ends up becoming a heavy duty occultist who then later on in life says, they put an implant in my brain. Like, it's really crazy. Like, it's hard to believe him because he's a Discordian. Like, he's like has fake names and like he's trying to create cultural, discord and things like that. But he literally is around Oswald. He actually writes a book about Oswald before November 22nd, 1963.
About a guy who takes out the president, right?
I think it's something about the lonesome soldier or something like that. I don't know what it is, but it's just another one of these people overseeing Oswald. Thornley, then Oswald defects. Somehow he gets money to go to Helsinki. He's supposed to go to some university in Switzerland. He goes to Minsk. We know from like certain releases that he's talking to the attaches of the CIA from Russia. So he still has intel connections there. He somehow gets back into the United States, and within a year, he has moved all the way to Dallas, Texas, or Irving, Texas, specifically, under the oversight of this woman named Ruth Paine. Ruth Paine is kind of an infamous figure. She's all over the Warren Commission. She's like has to make testimony. It ties into the current cases because Oswald was supposedly seen carrying a rifle on the day of the shooting, and in her garage was found like a rifle case. So it kind of ties Oswald directly to her. Ruth Paine has a very she's from a blue blood Eastern family, but one of her best friends was this woman named Bancroft, and their story. Bancroft wrote her autobiography, and her autobiography that she talks about her friendship with Ruth Paine, you can check it out online. It's called The Autobiography of a Spy. Like, so Ruth Paine's best friend is an autobiography of a spy. She's a spy during World War II. She speaks 3 languages. Who does she work for during World War II in Switzerland? Alan Dulles.
Oh my God.
He's literally Alan Dulles' secretary and lover. So she's his lover. This is her autobiography. There's all kinds of stuff about her and Alan. She calls him the shark, like that's his personality. They're involved in trying to kill Hitler, right? So the Valkyrie thing of June 1944, they try to kill Hitler. He's the kind of like intermediary between the ones who want to kill Hitler and the West. Dulles is. So then Dulles leaves, becomes the head of the CIA, starts MK Ultra, and then Bancroft. So literally, Bancroft is friends with Paine in 63. So literally, there's 2 very small degrees of separation between Dulles and MK Ultra and Ruth Paine.
That guy, dude, anytime you see a street named after somebody in Washington, D.C., just know they're a war criminal. Every time. Every time. I mean, but the craziest part of that whole thing is how they were, and I've said this before, like, we know about the GATE program and all that stuff, right? They're collecting data on you right out the gate, dude.
Yeah, they are.
Right out the gate.
It's bad. Like there's digital data for all of us, and there's
Now,
files
yeah,
now.
it's
Yeah, it's
so
bad.
easy, dude.
I heard that Palantir, even recently with this whole Charlie Kirk memorial, they had all the data on everybody's cell phone who was there. So they don't have to ask for attendance because all that data from the cell phone pinging, they're just like, okay, Joe's there, Bob's there, we know who's there. They probably know exactly all the people who were at that school in Utah on September 10th, which is really scary.
Well, that was the whole thing about Kamala Harris, and like they were doing data on everyone going there, and they noticed that it's the same people at every single arena. It was just a moving fucking carnival. But it's like, again, they just know your data, dude, and they're doing it very early, very, 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 very early.
And it's a selective release. Like that's the whole thing is that they keep it on you, and then it's basically kind of like a blackmail, or they can manipulate events based on what they want to release or what they know or all those things. It's very powerful.
Well, I mean, that's not to get too deep into this, but that's why like adult film websites are free. They make it
Question.
free. Then they see what you're looking at. They're doing like let's say you're on these videos and you're watching like stepdaughter stuff, right? And then they see that you're into you have political aspirations. And then we get into what they were talking about with Lee Harvey Oswald, just people pushing you. Boop.
Yep,
Boop.
right into place. Payne was the one who got Oswald the job at the book depository. She was an essential member of like that whole team and squad.
It's so crazy, dude.
It's super crazy. And a lot of it's left out. This whole MK Ultra aspect is left out of the JFK kind of analysis. Lee Harvey Oswald was special. Ferry was really smart. He was like working on cancer research, but he was also into black magic, and he was also into hypnotic programming. And when he was found dead, was like whoever killed him or how he died was super fortunate because he was under the gun of Garrison. They found books on hypnotism all over his apartment in New Orleans. And also one author said that he was using it on Oswald. This guy who the name of the book is The Man Who Knew Too Much.
100%. I have to use the restroom real quick. I'll be
Okay.
right back. Sorry.
But yeah, the movie's really good, guys. I highly recommend The Manchurian Candidate, the original. And it has like little things like triggers over the phone. You could actually do that. I think Austin Picard even researched that, one of your guys with Sam. But it was like they found out in Artichoke that they could induce kind of a hypnotic thing by just getting the phone if you got the right guy. And also like the suggestions are there. So you get somebody in that thing and then you'd say the suggestion, you bring them out and then they go do it. They found out that actually does work. Like they could actually get people to have this kind of like, response.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me about, I remember doing it, but they do an ear test in elementary and they make you press a button. And if you hear the ring, you press a button. If you don't, it's supposed to be an ear test. But now I think about it, it could be just a pinging. Like if you hear a certain vibration, it turns something on, because that's exactly what it was. It's just a certain frequency that they would send to you, and you could see if you could hear it or not. And then you'd press a button, and then you would pass or not, but you wouldn't even know. They were just like, all right, go ahead. You did good. You passed the ear test. And you're like, was that really a hearing test, or was it something?
Hypnotized Trejo so bad that Trejo thought he was on heroin. And he explained that's how deep and how effective Manson could be.
Oh,
I
wow.
mentioned this guy, William Joseph Bryan, earlier. The person who was, I think Krenwickel was the one of the Manson family who turned and became a witness for the prosecution. Do you remember her? Or Kasabian, excuse me. Her name was Kasabian. Guess who her psychologist was?
Who?
William Joseph Bryan.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's everywhere. Like it's almost like he's like Louis Jolyon.
They're just hired guns.
Yeah, no, get this. This is really interesting thing about Dulles is that they had one of the big events in World War II was that oh, that's not it. Let me get that. It's one of my cluttered desktop. One of the things about World War II is they had they were trying to one of the things Hess left in 1941 to kind of like create a detente, and Dulles got this guy Ewan Cameron to go interview Hess, and Ewan Cameron was the guy who went on to do the Sleep Room and all these MK Ultra things at McGill University. And it's really incredible because these are tied together. Like Dulles knows you and Cameron. Like he knows some of these things. And I think that's the pattern all the way post World War is during these events, the intel people sent the doctors, sent the psychologists. That's why they're always all over these things. Is there's some psychologist or some handler always around.
Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, William, he somewhat says he doesn't think Charlie could have done all that stuff. And then he kind of comes back around and is like, yeah, and he just took these broken chicks and gave them acid. So it was an interesting state. I wish I could have I wish he would have followed up going, hold on, you don't think he did it? Because there are all that stories about Tex is actually the guy that did it. And they blamed him, they blamed Charles because they wanted to blame hippies. And then the FBI was just sitting outside while it went down.
Yeah. They didn't have that great of a case against Charlie Manson because they took the blame for like controlling all those people supposedly, which probably is true. I mean, the levels of control. He was a clear in Scientology. So like he knew a lot about Scientology, which
What?
Yeah. At least that's according to Helter Skelter in the book. He walked into a Scientology center and asked them, can you teach me anything? And they said, you know everything. And he walked back out.
What?
What?
Yeah.
That's great.
That's the Bugliosi book. No, it's a true story. So
That's
he
great.
was keyed in. He's obviously street smart in his own weird way, but I mean the connections to all this. There's a rumor. There's a researcher who was kind of like a side researcher who said that Sirhan was at one of the parties on Cielo Drive. Like he shows up in weird places. He was also Sirhan, the so-called killer of RFK, was also hypnotized by none other than Manly P. Hall. And that's also in a book. If you know who Manly P. Hall is. Yeah.
We've had people on talking about Manly P. Hall.
Yeah, and he's like, there's this huge Manly P. Hall Center. I forgot what it's called, but it's actually very close to where one of the Manson killings happened, the La Bianca stuff. Manly P. Hall Center for like Ancient Wisdom or something is on that street. I forgot where it is. It's close to what's the park that goes up in the hills with the
Griffith
Park. It's close to Griffith Park. Thanks.
Well, I mean, that kind of gets into Marilyn Manson too. It's like, you know, here's this beautiful woman, one of the most beautiful people to ever live, and nobody adopts her out of foster care. Not one person adopts this beautiful little girl.
Who are you talking about?
Marilyn Monroe, excuse me, not Marilyn Manson, Marilyn Monroe. Sorry about that. And her involvement in a lot of this crazy stuff, because men get turned into assassins, women get turned into sexkins.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
There's a lot of that stuff. Yeah, it's called the Philosophical Research Society. It's on Los Feliz. That's where Manly P. Hall kind of was. But no, you're right. And there's like the Search for Candy Jones. Like
that's crazy too.
Yeah, I thought that was a crazy book back. Like a lot of this stuff, I would have thought like you guys are off the deep end. But now I'm like, oh wow, they really did figure out these techniques. And these MK Ultra doctors are all over the place. They show up in almost every major.
And there's no way they haven't refined these techniques in the decades that have followed. I mean, they must be, especially with technology, they must be so efficient at this now that they,
It's a great statement. There's a recent case that came up. It's out of this. I mentioned you and Cameron, who's friends with Dulles. He was at McGill. There's this thing called the sleep room. They had a lot of victims. They had a lot of litigation, but that litigation just got certified as a class action in July of 2025. And the document that got the certification is about 300 pages long, and it's all factual. And it's an amazing historical document. The court case is called Tanny, one of the victims. You can hear about their story, Tanney or Tanny versus Victoria State Hospital, McGill University, the AG of Canada, and the AG of the United States, Pam Biondi. So she's included as a defendant. But in that case, they talk about they figured out what was going on at the hospital, and there's that whole kind of winnowing process. They're learning these techniques. The human beings are unwitting guinea pigs in this process breaking people down, psychically driving and breaking them back, bringing them back together. And they started figuring out drugs. What drugs can I use? What's the sensory deprivation? How can I get them in a completely pliable state? And a lot of these people's lives were totally ruined. Like these were basically totally unethical experimental victims who went into the hospital for like postpartum depression, alcoholism, things like that, and they came out changed. But that document reflects exactly what you're saying. You could see you and Cameron perfecting the technique. He's like, yes, now we do this. Now we do this. And like in 7 days, we can have this outcome. It's really incredible.
It's so nuts. And that, I always laugh when I hear people go, trust the science. I'm like, bro, some of the darkest shit ever done on humanity is from science.
No question.
I mean, let's not forget Ted Kaczynski. They fucked him up.
Oh, they fucked him up, dude.
People don't know the totality of what Kaczynski went through. They don't know. He was tortured for 3 years. They literally put the whole helmet on his head with the electrodes. His doctor's another one they think is an MK Ultra doctor who actually studied Hitler. He was actually involved in doing an assessment of Hitler called The Mind of Adolf Hitler. It's called the Langer Report, but his name was Harvey or Henry or something like that. And they really put Kaczynski through the ringer. And it's interesting because it overlaps with these cases at McGill. They were, for some reason, there's a woman, Elizabeth Nixon, might be a good guest. Her mom was one of the victims. And they were targeting these women to try to see. She thinks they were trying to turn them into Stepford wives, like very pliable wives, sex kitten wives, but they didn't tell them that. So that's what she thinks. But Kaczynski was like that, but for men, he had like a 185 IQ. He was like in his 20s teaching highest grade math to students, as a teacher, like a professor aide or something like that. But they grinded him down for 3 years. And they think he was in these things for like hours and hours and hours. They basically modified his behavior. There's no question about it.
It's so dark, dude.
So dark. He was one of many. That's the whole thing. And so when he's talking about, and that ties into Luigi Mangione, believe it or not.
There we go.
Because Mangione was interested in Kaczynski's work. And so you want to talk about two talented people who underwent personality change like Holmes, or maybe even this Tyler Robinson, I don't know. But Mangione was like a winner. The guy was like a good looking, head of his class, went to prep school. His mommy and daddy were rich. He paid for his prep school. He was working in AI in Silicon Valley. Like he had almost an enviable life. And then all of a sudden, I got to go from Oahu and fly out to New York City and kill a CEO of a healthcare company. That I've never been a part of the healthcare company. Like, why is this guy? Like he chases him down at 7 a.m. in the morning. Like,
somebody says it has to do with his back, and they didn't do all this. But the guy that shoots him, the guy who shoots him doesn't look like him when he turns around. Doesn't look like him. Not the same in the eyes. And the weirdest thing is, going back to these Manchurian candidates, is they find him in a McDonald's just sitting there.
Just like Tyler Robinson, right? He's pictured at a Dairy Queen or something.
Dude, how crazy is this, dude? The Dairy Queen. There's a picture of the Man of Steel, the Superman. That comes out right before they start talking about how Charlie Kirk's bones were so dense they were like made of steel, and they stopped the bullet. You're like, bro, that shit is all programming there, dude.
I think you're right. It's really strange. Like he just shot a mate. This is probably the biggest assassination of our time. Charlie Kirk is young, 31. They had to have known he was going to be an influence for decades. I mean, it's a decapitation strike, and then this guy, I just shot somebody. 6 hours later, I need some Dairy Queen or whatever. It just doesn't make any sense. Nothing about that story makes sense.
Who's hungry? Yeah. Who's hungry? I mean, I get nervous. Who's hungry after shooting anybody?
Yeah, but why does Oswald go to the movies?
Right. Good point.
Right. And then the Parkland shooting, you have that very attractive high school chick who is just like, dude, when the shot's fired, he was running right next to me. He didn't have anything to do with this. That story dies. And he goes to McDonald's. He goes and shoots up everything. And then he goes to McDonald's. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, also in the Kirk shooting too, the way those text messages, like he's just kind of like it's almost like hijinks the way he reveals it to his partner. He's like, "Hey, you might want to go look under the keyboard. You know, I left a little note for you." And then presumably, you know, they went and looked, and they're like, "What? I'm gonna kill this guy." What? What? You can see it. I mean, it's just the worst. It's the most poorly scripted.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Dana wants me to be quiet, but I'm like, what ties this kid to the whole thing? What ties him there?
They decided to tie him there. And
the gun, his grandpa's gun, because you would use your grandpa's gun to go to go.
Yeah, but the gun
someone.
that they found is not the gun that could shoot that bullet. And it's impossible for him to undo it, put it in his thing, jump. And then they're saying, dude, none of it makes sense. And then it's the AI video of him jumping off the roof. I mean, we're seeing AI introduced into this stuff, and that's an ominous sign.
Yeah, so he took apart the gun and then took his clothes off and put them back on. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, how is any of this believable?
And he rebuilt the gun to store it, and then wrapped it around a blanket,
and then just laid it down. It's just so dumb. People just it's the old saying. It's easier to fool someone than to tell them they've been fooled or convince them they've been fooled.
It's
way easier.
That, or you know what I think it is also just I think there's so much evidence that we're all just confused. Where none of it makes sense. The cops don't know where to go. They don't know you're just like, what the fuck do I hear? What do I listen to? It's just like kind of like the internet. They just bombard us with fucking information where you just don't even know where to start or what to
Well, that's all done. That's nonlinear warfare.
Yeah, I think so.
And they're trying to set a narrative of left versus right. They want civil war because then they can bring in martial law. That's the goal. They're just cranking it up every moment they can. Every single PowerPoint, bang, 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 boom, 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 turn. White girl gets stabbed. Charlie Kirk, trans, bang. It's just like, you know, how can we get them to all fight with each other? I don't think it's working. I think people are waking up to it, but I could be wrong. We got a lot of AstroTurf going on.
I have to say, Sam, I watched my whole family that at that Kirk Memorial watched that with bated breath. I mean, it was they have no whiff. Like when I told them some of that stuff, like we were talking about, like Erica Kirk, you know, some of that kind of deep stuff we talked about on Broken Sim.
Oh yeah.
Like they were like, what are you talking about? This is, I mean, so I don't think it's a mainstream thought at all that this
not at all. I mean, there's people that are just gonna buy it.
It's a great movie. You gotta watch it. It's so much in there. And there's also triggers in there. They explain how this doctor, Yen Lo, says you can trigger people to have suicide things at the very end. You can trigger them. And it's a foreshadowing of what happens at the very end of Manchurian Candidate, where Lawrence Harvey kills himself. And a lot of these shooters, strangely, kill themselves at the end. So you never know what their motivation is or what the story is. And it's actually kind of a script that's written into, like, Scientology has elements of that in there where you're supposed to. Scientology is super dangerous. It overlaps with a lot of the MK.
We had a situation with a friend recently on the show who we went into Scientology. He's like, I'm a Scientologist. I'm like, okay, we'll move on. And he didn't want to go down because I think there's U.S. naval connections to it. I think it's a giant U.S. naval blackmailing scheme. That's why there's so many closeted gays in it.
There's all kinds of stuff in there. You're basically owned once you go in there because you're supposed to divulge all your darkest secrets to get rid of these engrams or constructs.
God,
it goes into a yellow file and they hold on to it and you're blackmailed forever. So Tom Cruise and Travolta are totally blackmailed. And it gets where, I mean, you're right. I think Hubbard was naval intelligence. And actually, Fletcher Prouty said that he was also very much involved in JFK. He said that Hubbard's World War II history is a legend. It's fake. And so what was he really doing in World War II?
So, that's so crazy.
He was also like full on occultist with Jack Parsons and all this other stuff.
That's so crazy.
But it takes that evil mind to do this mind control. And if you look at a lot of the occultists, even going up, you mentioned Marilyn Manson, like Marilyn Manson was friends with LaVey, and like he's talking about LaVey, and in LaVey's bookshelf he has books on occultism and mind control. So these guys are all looking into hypnotism and mental manipulation, just like the other guy who's associated with LaVey, like Kino, who's literally a psyops freaking information warfare officer. Like he knows that it's from psyop to mind war. So a lot of this stuff is very important. And actually, one of the interesting things about Condon, who wrote Manchurian Candidate, he wrote the intro to Operation Mind Control, and he likened people who didn't understand the mechanics of mind control as almost like circus clowns who had their arms and legs broken. He called them Grok the Clown. You have to read this intro. It's really interesting.
Where is it?
It's at the intro to the book Operation Mind Control by Bauert. He says the techniques are so significant to humanity that if you don't understand them, you're almost like a clown. Like that's a metaphor that he used. And I think to a certain extent, we've been so manipulated psyop after psyop and lied to and stuff like that. Like we really need to know these techniques. And we see some of them. I'm not saying all these assassins that have been here this long, assassins that I enumerated at the beginning, but some of them are really strange. They act very, Holmes in particular, and Chapman and Oswald, really. Like they all are very strange and suggestible.
It's just everything is fake, dude. Everything is fake. All these celebrities are fake. All these stories are fake. It's just like, how do you deal with that? Well, me, I just tune out. I just like to know what the game they're playing. I don't emotionally invest in it because it's just sorcery magic tricks, dude. Everything is magic tricks. We had Joey Jaime on, and we're talking about the manipulation of sports outcomes. He goes, dude, they just use magic. I never really thought about it like that. Like, how can they get that guy to block the punt? I mean, it's just energy manipulation, dude. It's just energy manipulation. It's that deep, dude. I really do believe it. That makes more sense to me than anything else that someone would fake something or throw the game. Or it's like they just got mentally manipulated and energy manipulation to make them do these crazy ass things, dude. I mean, it's crazy to me, dude. It's just so.
These guys were on a quest for total power.
Yes,
they were on a quest for like complete manipulation, and they said it. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, maybe I'll leave you with this. This is from one of the guys. These guys at CIA all knew all this stuff, but this is from James Jesus Angleton. He said, "The better you lied, the more you betrayed, the more likely you'd be promoted. Outside of their duplicity, the only thing we had in common was a desire for absolute power. I did things that, looking back on my life, I regret, but I was part of it and loved being in it. Dulles, Helms, Weisner." Dulles was the head of MK Ultra. "These men were the grand masters." That's an occult, Masonic term. "If you were in a room with them, you were in a room full of people that you had to believe would deservedly end up in hell. I guess I will see them there soon."
So crazy, dude. So crazy. So I wanted to ask you real quick before we let you go. So Michael Tracy on the internet was in this there's pedo panic. There's pedo panic everywhere. And I tried to what's it called on the internet when you what's it called, guys, when you put somebody's handle in there? What's it called?
Tag 'em.
At them,
Mention
yeah,
them,
I
yeah.
at them. And about his craziness because he kept bringing up all these old cases, which we've had you on before, talking about, the daycare scandal and then the Memphis Three and how they try to create satanic panic. But for me, it's like based on our conversation, those things really happened, right? And they were just spun in the news as like just crazy Christians going nuts.
Yeah, the Franklin scandal's real. There's all these different scandals that happened all over. There was like Presidio and things that happened on Oak Island. So these are all verifiable. So I think Tracy is one of those types that really doesn't want to come to the conclusion. He's more than happy to not look at the facts.
It's so crazy to me,
Yeah.
dude.
I've seen that a lot in West. It's a lot of it's political in his class. He could never agree to saying that the West Memphis Three were Satanists because that would take him out of his whole kind of left wing circle. Because that it's like you have these kind of pieties that you all reflect at the same time, and you don't have to do. And if you don't do the research, you'll never change your mind. It would be too much at stake for him to actually look at the truth.
But there were tunnels, right? They were trying to act like there wasn't. There was actually tunnels under the school, right?
There was a guy who did it. His name was like Schneider or Steiner or something like that, who wrote the thing. You can look it up online. He said there was a tunnel between the daycare and then an apartment building next door. So there's a lot of that was all covered up. A lot of that stuff was ridiculed, but
Do you think they do that because they know that down the line, the pedophilia issue will become huge, or the satanic shit will become huge, so that they can go, oh, this is satanic panic again. You remember they kind of did that with Marxism and communism, the Red Scare and McCarthyism, and then look at sure shit, we have Marxists everywhere, and they were totally right. But it's like sets up this thing where it's like, oh, dude, it's just McCarthyism all over again. You're like, well, I think that guy was right, And then you get in the people behind him, Cone,
Roy Cohn.
Roy Cohn,
Roy Cohn, who pushed him to do all that stuff and kind of set him up to look like a retard.
Yeah, by the way, the main evil character there that's played by Angela Lansbury, she's based on Roy Cohn.
What?
Yeah. That's what Condon says in the intro to the book, Manchurian Candidate. So it's pretty interesting.
Really, dude?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't get to that part yet, but that's like the connection.
Okay, do you got anything on that? I know you might have to go, but can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Cohen was just an operator. He was homosexual. He was in these parties. He was blackmailing people. One of his close friends was Greg Spence, who was a homosexual blackmailer, ended up dead in a hotel tied to kind of the Franklin scandal. But yeah, he's bad news. Roy Cohn is really bad news. And and he's tied to Permindex. I don't know if you know you've had a guy on Permindex, I think.
Yeah,
Roy
tell
Cohn
us about it again.
Permindex was kind of a competitor to the International Mart, which was run in, I think, either Dallas or New Orleans by Clay Shaw. And they were kind of like business centers where business people could come and meet, and back before the internet or anything like that, they could network. And so, but it was also backed by a lot of heavy duty kind of international intrigue types. And Joe Bonanno is like a head of one of the mafia families. So like there's all these connections with kind of underground deep state, whatever you want to call it. But Permindex gets pretty dark, and then it became a conduit for black financing, money laundering, things like that, almost like the Nugan Hand Bank or something like that. So some of the people who've studied JFK think that, I think it's either Permindex or the International, I think it's Permindex, was a conduit and a means to secretly fund the operation, if I remember correctly.
Of the assassination of JFK.
And among other things, because of the international elements of it too. Like you could move money around secretly.
It's crazy to me, dude, how deep it goes. And, if we go back to the Charlie Kirk thing, we always say this, in these high impact events that are actual real, that's being ran by these intelligence agencies, there's so many layers that the guy doesn't, the target will never get out. One of these layers will get them. And that's why I never really got into the Trump thing, because he gets out of there. A real set up assassination. If that doesn't get him, this gets him, this person gets him, that, it's like 9/11, like that, the layers to 9/11. They really make sure that if we're going to take this shot, JFK too, how many assassins were in the grassy knoll or in the plaza and all that stuff. You don't get out of there unless they want you, unless it's not meant to be. And that's why I think the Trump stuff, I have a lot of questions about it.
I do too. It's pretty interesting that he survived. But there were puts on Trump, if you remember, somebody put a bet on Truth Social out of Austin, which is a tell that he's going to get shot. Also, all the camera people there for all over, and they don't show the shooting. They're ready to show it, but it doesn't happen. So there's elements of connections and also pre-knowledge. But Charlie Kirk, there probably were layers, like you said. The shooter's obviously not. The cover story is the Lone Nut 30-06, but it's not a 30-06. 30-06, guys, is really powerful.
Yeah.
It's 1,400 pounds of pressure per square inch. Like it hits you hard. It's not a 22. The bullet is like 2 inches long. It's crazy. They used it in World War II because you die. That's why they'd shoot you, because you wouldn't get back up. So something else going on. So there's probably people holding guns. There was a guy in the audience with guns. They have the distraction. I don't know if you know this, but like in the JFK assassination, they had a epileptic about 45 minutes before the shooting to distract.
Oh my
take
God.
the place. Have you ever seen that? Let me see if I can bring that up.
No, what?
Yeah. It's in the JFK movie, actually. It's actually pretty good. Let me bring that up. But yeah, so they had that, and so Zinn and the guy with the airsoft rifle are kind of in that mind thing. They are distracting from the thing. So it's somebody put aside a serious amount of money.
If you have 800 cameras, you got to have a million guys look like they're guilty, so nobody knows if it's coming or going. It's crazy to me. That's a crazy ass video, dude. That's a crazy ass video, dude. It's just
Crazy days, man. Crazy days. These assassins, there's a lot of them. Like it's incredible. Even just the last year, like you do these searches, there's all like lone nut killers and strange things happening. Like this is, people have called it what? Strategy of tension, gladio. I call it collective psychic driving in the terminology.
Collective psychic driving. I like that.
Of Dulles himself. So that's Dulles' language.
Collective psychic driving. I'm with you, dude. It's very weird. And you know what's the weirdest part is how, there's 3 things you won't see on television. You might see it in movies, one of them, but you don't see violence against women. We don't see SA against women. And we don't see a lot of bank robbing on television because they know monkey see, monkey do. We'll have big movies that are over the top of bank robberies, but television never has bank robbery. They never show it on the news. They never do any of that shit. But they'll show guns constantly people shooting each other, constantly, just programming people. That's why it's called programming. They're constantly programming you to fucking go to gun violence and all that shit. It's really fucking nuts, dude. William.
I stopped watching TV. I don't
I'm
watch
with
TV
you.
anymore.
I stopped too. I mean, everyone's worried about Jimmy Kimmel. The 4 days he was off air, people's minds melted. Fucking Mark Maron's calling for revolution. It's like, what are you doing, dude? We got mobilized. I'm like, dude, it's a weekend. You'll be fine. You'll be fucking fine, dude. It's just so fucking nuts, dude. Really. All right, crazy. William, one more time. Tell them where they can find you.
William Ramsey Investigates podcast. My website's the same thing. I've got 5 books there. If you want signed copies, you can also get them on Amazon. And I have 5 documentaries on my Patreon. So they won't let me upload them to Amazon. I don't know why. So maybe I should try again.
Too close. Too close to the target, buddy.
Hey, I'm supposed to get my YouTube channel back again.
Yeah, I'm happy for that. I'm hoping they release the Krakens and let it go, dude, right?
Yeah,
let it go.
Yeah.
Well, William, you have great hair. It's luxurious. Your hair is amazing.
Thanks.
And we always love when you're on our show, and you're always welcome back anytime you want. And let's break it down. Come on. What did you guys think of the great William Ramsey? Always. I mean, I think that was his best appearance yet, and he always crushes it.
Oh, he's one of the best. One of the best.
I could listen to that guy talk all day.
He's got me worried. What if I'm a Manchurian Candidate?
Yeah. Are you really worried?
You have to be able to say it. You have to be able to say it before you can be a. I wonder if they would.
It would be Johnny. It would be Johnny. Honestly, if it was one of the 3 of us, it'd be Johnny.
What if I just said Dos Locos and you just start going nuts? Dos Locos. Dos Locos. It's pretty crazy, Johnny.
What is happening right now?
We think XG is a Manchurian Candidate.
I could be. You don't never know.
I mean, you've all those weekend, drug use.
Well, let's check it up. You're lost. Yep. You're retarded. Yep. Okay. You live a risky lifestyle. Yep.
The question is, you go to these raves where they're brainwashing you with lights and sound.
Oh, there's furries there too. Oh, I'm so fucked.
Yeah, dude. Watch yourself, buddy. Watch yourself, please, dude. I thought it was a great show. I mean, dude, I gotta watch that movie because that movie sounds nuts.
Yeah, I watched it a long time ago, but I don't remember much about it. It's a good film, though. by all accounts.
I just want to watch this. So, I mean, it's just this is the most interesting shit. Mind manipulation. And
I
how
agree.
crazy was it what they said about Charles Manson? He almost said he
That
didn't think
Danny
he did
Trejo
it.
shit. Yeah, yeah.
Sam,
Yes,
you think he could have done that to you? You think he could have?
I've been to
Maybe you think you
hypnotists.
were
They don't
tweaking?
hypnotize. No,
You don't
maybe
think
when
you
I was
could?
no when I was tweaking.
No.
Definitely not. But I don't think I mean it's possible, but I've gone to those hypnotist shows. I never go sleep.
What would you think it is? Do you think
Mhm.
it's you're not letting them? You think your brain's just on a
You know
whole
why?
different
You know
level?
why? Actually, because I stand on business. That's why.
Oh fuck
I
yeah!
think you have to be a dumb fuck to get hypnotized.
You have to be very simple.
Yeah.
And I
Really.
don't. And that's nothing against anyone who's been hypnotized, but you have to be suggestible, right? Like, like when Trump gets shot and all those people show up with a Band-Aid on their ear. That's hypnotism.
Yeah, you're so right. Those are the people that, yeah.
Right? When the chick who fucking she starts taking like Tylenol when she's pregnant just to prove that's hypnotism. You're hypnotized.
So like right now, a person wearing a mask in their own car, they're easily
Yeah,
MK
they're
Ultra'd.
hypnotized.
Yes.
They're easily manipulated. You know, like when the government tells you that there's a monkeypox outbreak and all these gay dudes run to get the vaccine, that's hypnotism.
Add it to their Twitter profiles.
Yeah, I got my monkeypox vax. Who wants some? Right? It's
Yeah,
just
if you
like
have you have your pronouns in your Twitter profile. there's a
if you
chance
got
could
your
be-
pronouns in your Twitter bio, you might be programmable. Guys, go to samtripoli.com. We'll break it down a little. I'm just going to tell you something, dude. It is so elaborate how manipulative the elites are of us on almost every single level. And you just think about these poor people that were just born into wrong place, had nobody to take care of them, and they just get thrown into the meat grinder. It
Ugh.
makes me so fucking sad.
Yeah.
It makes me so fucking sad.
Never have a chance to. I mean, just no chance.
Yeah. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. And I'm just over. I mean, it breaks my heart.
I want to ask you because I don't know if you're going to talk about it in the episode. What did you think about the whole Jimmy Kimmel alligator tears?
Well, I
Did he
mean, like,
cry?
I'm
I
gonna be
haven't
honest
seen
with you. What he said wasn't that crazy to me. I mean, calling him mega was just stupid. But the video he showed of Trump was hilarious. And it's just, dude, it was a giant psyop. He was gone for 4 fucking
Did he
days.
cry when he came back?
No.
Oh, yeah?
Well, he
No,
did. He did a
no,
little
he
bit. He
cried.
did like, whoa, 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 whoa.
He cried why when he said he wasn't trying to like diminish or something, someone's death or something like that, and he just kind of teared up. And then,
Like in an apologetic way. I'm sure. Yeah, I bet they told.
But he didn't come out and say, I'm sorry.
yeah,
He
did
said he
not say that.
danced around it. And you know what, dude? I mean, it's stupid. And Jimmy Kimmel celebrated when Tucker Carlson got fired. Jimmy Kimmel said you shouldn't be able to go to the hospital if you didn't get the vax. He's a fucking corporate dick sucker, dude. So I'd like, dude, if you don't like cancel culture, you gotta defend the people you don't like. Don't just stand up for the people you like. Stand up for the people you don't like. That's the key. And it's just like, this was a giant psyop, dude. Just to get us to fight with each other. 4 days he was gone. And like, dude, they did the demographics of his numbers, 18 to 49, which is so sad because I'm so much old. I'm older than that, right? But the 18 to 49, that's the most important demographic. He's getting like 150,000 every night.
That's crazy.
Awful. That's
Just what?
awful.
It's just old people watching.
Yeah, it's like people like me, and like I don't spend money because I have to take care of everybody. So I don't spend my money like these loosey goosey people. That's why they like young people. Not that they think they're better. They just spend their money stupid.
Yeah, because they got no kids and they love nostalgia and they love going to Disneyland. Like a bunch of my homies, like they literally just buying collectibles like Pokemon cards. Were like, I mean, if you had kids, you wouldn't go buy a $300 Charizard. That's
Yeah,
just
it's
not gonna do
totally.
nothing.
And more money is spent on young women than any other demographic. That's why everything's geared towards them. But everything that's geared towards women is hot dog shit. It's just hot dog. I mean, I'm willing to go John Mayer and then that who's the redheaded Scottish guy or Irish
Ed
guy?
Sheeran.
Those are the only 2 things that are geared towards women that I go, okay, that's kind of cool. Everything else is vapid dog shit. And I'm gonna get yelled at by women here. I'm sorry. Tell me, dude. And someone said Victoria's Secrets. I go, well, that's more geared towards men. Women getting stuff for men.